Hello, my name is Chandler, and today I want to go over how to set up Splunk on an Ubuntu machine, and then I'll demonstrate how to get the installer, how to extract it to the ops directory, and I'll show the initial setups and all that for Splunk. And then once we have Splunk initialized and set up, I'll show you how to get to the dashboard, and I want to go over how to import some sample data, and then we can review that, set up a dashboard with that sample data, and once that's all set up, I'll also demonstrate how you can set up universal forwarders on endpoints to start ingesting live data. And in this instance, I will be using my Active Directory lab here to ingest that data, and I'll show you how to set that up. So to begin, you can just open up your browser of choice and navigate on over to Splunk. So there's two ways that you can actually run Splunk. You could do it through Docker. If you wanted to do that, you just look up the documentation for Docker image. And then you could just run this, pull, and then start, accept the license and do it from there, and then just do everything on the command line. That's how I have been running it, but today I'm going to show the bare metal option. So for this, you can start a free trial. I believe it's 60 days, so you just have to put in the email, and then you can get the download. I believe it'll say business email, but you can use any email. It doesn't really verify that in any way, so no issues there. And then just download that. But since we're using Linux today, we'll be using the TGZ for this download, and I've already downloaded it, so I'll skip that. Just wanted to show those two methods for getting Splunk. So with that minimized, I'll show you the commands that you need to run for that. So what we would do first is cd into downloads, and then there you can see the Splunk download, and I've already run this. So, but this is a command you would run. And this -c option is to change the directory it's copied into. So let's change it over to opt, which is an optional directory for software like this, and that's the good practice to throw it in there. And then once that is finished, it'll take some time to run, ask you for your password, and you can see that takes some time. But once it finishes up, cd on over here, and you can see all the options that you can use to run Splunk. So in our instance, we're just going to do, let's see, sudo dot slash Splunk. I have yet to type Splunk correctly, but that's what we're looking for, Splunk start. And for your initial startup, you'll want to do the accept us license. Just tack that on there. And then when you run that, it'll ask you to set a username and password. Since I already have that running, I'm not going to run that part. But once you set your username and password, you come over here to ipconfig. You see I have Docker in there, but I'm looking for my IP address, because that is what Splunk will be on. And then we can just come over here, open a new browser, HTTP, and Splunk by default will be running on port 8000. Okay. And this is what the dashboard here looks like. So to begin, I have some sample data already saved. So I'm going to show you how to add that. So you just go to settings, add data, and then you can upload CSV files, which is what I'm going to do for the HTTP traffic. But you can also do like monitoring things from all kinds of different options that Splunk supports here. And then they also have the forward option. But to starting, I'm just going to do the upload, select file, go over to sim, dislog. So once you get the file successfully uploaded, just hit next. You can start seeing some info from that. We can go ahead and hit next. And then I want to create a new index. So I'll just put sample data, save, hit next. You can see the index here is sample data, submit. All right, and we're done. So the data is now in here. And another way, you can just hit apps, search, or search reporting here. And I'll do index sample underscore data. Forgot the parentheses. And we can run that, and we should start getting events. Oh yeah, all time. Got to switch that over since I'm using some sample data. It's not live, so the dates are different. So all time has to be selected for these. But here you can start seeing some of the information that Splunk is able to show from that CSV file, and all kinds of info. We can look at the source type, hosts. Okay. From here, there is a dashboard setting, and Splunk has a couple defaults. This is one that I made, and this is what I'm going to show you guys how to make here as well. So I'm going to go back over to the search, and we'll start generating a dashboard based on that sample data. And we'll do equals sample data. And I'm going to do top URI path. So we can do, top limit equal 5 for the top 5 results. And we'll do the URI path search. Got to update to all time. And this will show some info with the login paths here. Visualization, we can change this to a pie chart to see what pages were being accessed from this sample data. And to save this as a dashboard, we can do new dashboard. I'll just name it website data. And I'll title this URI. Let's see, requests by URI path. And we'll leave this as a pie chart and hit save to dashboard. Oh, yeah, I'm just going to do classic and then save to dashboard. And here we can view the dashboard, and we'll see this pie chart has been put over here in the website data. Okay, so we can go back to search and start adding more information to that dashboard that we set up. So let's do index sample data. And this time we'll take a look at the amount of HTTP requests that have been coming in. So we can just do time chart count, all time again. Here we start getting some information about login times, but if we switch over to visualization, bar graph is nice. And so here we can see what our most common login times are. And from this kind of graph, we can see if, we are expecting login times, from business hours, 8 to 5 or something, and then suddenly we get a ton way off. That can be an indicator of something fishy going on. So we can go ahead and save this to our new existing dashboard, which is website data. Keep it as an area chart, and then we'll name this area chart or HTTP connections over time, and then save the dashboard. And we can go back over to the dashboard, and you'll see that we have the HTTP connections and logon attempts, along with our web pages that are being accessed. So go back to search, and I'll add at least 2 more options in here. So we can actually add a cluster map pretty easy. So if we do the index equal sample data real quick, we can do, let's see, sample IP, pipe this to IP location based on the client IP addresses that are logged, and then we put geostats count by city. Geostats all time by city, and we get this nice little heat map of where everyone is coming from, the IP addresses, and connecting to our website. So we can see all this information, which would be nice. So we can throw that into our new dashboard. Website data, keep it as cluster, on the heat map, and save to dashboard. Okay, that one's done. And I'm going to add one more for the user agents. So this will be the same. I'll keep that in there actually, so I don't have to type index sample data again. This one's a little longer, but we'll take the top 5 results for user agents, and I can see that I've already put in that before, so it's populating there. We'll rename user agent as user agent, and this renaming is just to make it look a little cleaner. So we'll change count as to count of events, and then one more, rename percent as percentage, so we can run that, and this is the statistics we get. We can see immediately a malicious thing here, hydro scan from Cali and in-map scanning. So having this user agent showing up on our dashboard for potentially malicious results is just a nice little time saver. So we can add this to the existing dashboard again. We'll name this user agents, save, and then we can view this dashboard, and we've got all of that information already there. And we can edit this further if you want, and just drag and drop to save a little space. But there, quick dashboard based on the sample data that I added. And now I can show you how to actually start setting up live data from my domain controller or a host machine endpoints on your network. So quickly, I'm going to go over to this host machine. And log in. So I've already got the Universal Forwarder downloaded here, but it's the same process as getting the Splunk installer. You'll sign in with your username and password that you set up before, and then just look for the Universal Splunk Forwarder And this time we're on Windows, do the 64-bit version, and then hit download. But before we run the download, we'll want to go to Windows Defender Firewall, Advanced Settings, and since this is on my domain, I gotta log in with my domain info. Let's try that again. I think I spelled administrator wrong. Okay, so now we want to set two rules here, inbound and outbound traffic. So we just first start with the outbound, hit new rule. We want to switch to port, and then the ports that we want to allow are 8089 and 9997, and this is for Splunk. So the receiving port is this 997, and this is this inbound traffic from Splunk. So we'll allow the connection, next, and then we can just name it Splunk Forwarder. Finish. Okay, and then do the same in the inbound rules. Same port. Then 8089, 9997. Next, Splunk forward. Finish. Okay, now we have our rules, and we can run the installer for Splunk. But before I run that installer, I'm going to switch back over and set up the listening and receiving. So on Splunk, if you go to Settings, Forward and Receiving, we configure a receiving for the Splunk forwarder. So we just hit Add New, and then we'll put in 9997, save. I already have this, but once you hit save, it will create a new listener for that port. So we can come back over here to the dashboard, and that port will be ready to go. So now we can go back to the host machine and then just run that installer. This will be the Splunk forwarder. Check the license, custom info. Next. Do local system for this Windows machine. And here we can select the kind of logs that we want to monitor. So I'm just going to select system and security. Select the username. Okay, so this will be the Ubuntu machine that we have running Splunk on. So it'll be this IP address here. 192.168.0.117. And then we can leave this as the default. Hit next. And same IP address and the same default port. Next, install. And then just let that finish. Quick sip of coffee while we wait. One more sip, I guess, while we're waiting. And there it goes, successfully installed. Go ahead and hit finish. Now we can go back to our Splunk instance on the Ubuntu machine. So if we go to the search and reporting, we can select data summary, and here we can see that desktop we just added. And I've already got my domain controller running. I added that for test, but here we can see source types, security, system info, and the host for the desktop. So we can just select that and we'll start getting events. Like all kinds of info here. And now that we have this, we can start setting up rules and dashboards just like we did with the sample data. In this case, I'm going to show just a simple alert that we can set up. So I'll do search index, or actually index equal wildcard, and I'll put this in here so it'll search all of our indexes, and this event code is for logon attempts, so we should see stuff going to the domain controller and that desktop. So we can add the host in there, and we'll filter just by the host machine, and we can see the login attempts that are made to my desktop there. We see account was successfully logged in. This is probably me, hopefully me. And we see the domain information there as well from the domain controller. So we can close that out, and we can filter by event code equal. Actually, let's leave the host. Whoops. Okay. I'll leave the host on here, and I'll switch this to 1102. So no events in here. So this event code happens when the security events are cleared from a machine. And we can actually set this up as a new alert. So it'll be alert security event log cleared to shared in app real time per result, add actions, and then add to our triggered alerts. Leave this as medium and hit save. Okay. I'm gonna go back to the search, and we'll do the wildcard again, host, desktop, and event code equal 1102. We'll see still no events in there, so if we go to this host machine, we can open CMD as an administrator. Run this, and then we can run a Windows command here to clear the security logs. CL to clear, and we select the event. And I spell. Oh, I left out a T. Windows event log. Okay, no response there. But if we go back to Splunk, we should have one more event. Yeah, security log. And if we go to activity and triggered alerts, we can see the security event log cleared right there. All right. And that's all I've got for this Splunk kind of tutorial thing. So I wanted to show setting it up and how you can take in sample data and some real-time data. So thank you for sticking around.